In a world where power, prestige, and prejudice collide, a successful black entrepreneur finds himself underestimated and humiliated by a system that refuses to see beyond his skin. When a routine visit to a luxury store spirals into a confrontation with a racially biased officer, he's forced to navigate escalating discrimination with calm professionalism. But as tensions mount and the injustice grows more blatant, the stakes rise, and the line between patience and action begins to blur. Will he bow to the system, or will he take a stand that could change everything? The outcome is anything but certain. The sun dipped low over Atlanta International Airport, casting long shadows across the bustling terminal. The air buzzed with the symphony of rolling suitcases, overhead announcements, and the myriad conversations of travelers from every corner of the globe, amidst the chaos of departures and arrivals. Some stories unfolded quietly, away from the glaring lights of the boarding gates. Maya Johnson moved gracefully behind the counter of her modest coffee kiosk, nestled in a quieter corner of the terminal. Her attire was simple, yet sophisticated. Jeans paired with a tailored blazer, minimalistic jewelry, and comfortable flats. Despite her relaxed appearance, there was an air of quiet authority about her. She was the CEO of Horizon Technologies, a company she had built from the ground up, pioneering sustainable solutions in the aviation industry. Her presence in the airport was a deliberate choice, a reminder that success didn't necessitate extravagance. As Maya expertly crafted a latte, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the subtle scent of roasted nuts from a nearby snack bar. Regular customers greeted her warmly, their conversations light and friendly. Maya exchanged smiles and brief chats, her genuine demeanor making her beloved by both staff and patrons. Today, like many others, she chose to blend her professional life with moments of simplicity, finding solace in the routine of her morning duties. "Good morning, Maya. The usual today?" a familiar voice called out. "Absolutely, Jamie, one double espresso with a touch of almond milk coming right up," Maya replied with a warm smile. As she handed over the coffee, her phone buzzed softly in her pocket. She glanced at the screen, a brief frown crossing her features before she tucked it away, returning her attention to the customer. Her phone had been silent for hours, a rare occurrence for someone whose life was usually a whirlwind of meetings and decisions. She shook off the distraction, focusing on the task at hand. Despite her towering presence in the corporate world, Maya remained grounded, choosing simplicity over extravagance. Her office was a glass-paneled skyscraper in downtown Atlanta, but moments like these reminded her of the importance of humility and connection. She believed that true leadership wasn't about titles or wealth, but about the relationships you built and the lives you touched. The terminal thrummed with activity, a diverse crowd of travelers navigating their way to various gates. Among them, a group of young professionals chatted animatedly, a family with excited children moved briskly through the crowd, and solo travelers lost in their thoughts huddled over their devices. In a city as vibrant and diverse as Atlanta, the undercurrents of societal challenges and systemic prejudices were ever present, often hidden beneath layers of daily interactions. Maya's thoughts briefly wandered to the upcoming meeting with Sky High Airlines. Their partnership could be a significant step forward for Horizon Technologies, aligning their sustainable initiatives with Sky High's expansive network. She had spent weeks preparing, ensuring that every detail was meticulously planned. Collaborations like these were the lifeblood of her company, driving innovation and progress in an industry that desperately needed it. As Maya turned her attention back to her customers, a well-dressed man in his late 30s approached the counter. His suit was impeccable, his tie perfectly knotted. There was an air of entitlement about him as he strode up, exuding confidence and authority. "Maya Johnson, right?" he began, extending his hand with a firm grip. "I'm James Caldwell, Vice President at Sky High Airlines. I've heard a lot about Horizon Technologies. I believe we have a partnership in the works." Maya nodded politely, shaking his hand. "James, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've been looking forward to our collaboration. How can I assist you today?" James glanced around the kiosk, a hint of impatience flickering in his eyes, before he leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Cutting to the chase, Maya. We're facing some challenges with our sustainability initiatives. I think your expertise could be exactly what we need to get things back on track." Maya maintained her composure, her calm demeanor never wavering. "I'm glad to hear that Sky High is committed to sustainability. Let's discuss the specifics over a meeting. How about we schedule a time this week?" James straightened up, adjusting his tie as he pulled out his phone to check his calendar. "Yes, that sounds good. I'll have my assistant reach out to yours to set something up. Appreciate your time, Maya." As James walked away, Maya watched him thoughtfully, a slight tension lingering in the air. The interaction, though brief, left an unspoken undercurrent of unease. She sensed that beneath James's polished exterior lay layers of complexity and perhaps hidden motives. Maya had learned to navigate such interactions with grace, understanding that not everyone shared her commitment to genuine progress. Turning her attention back to her customers, Maya's smile remained unwavering as she engaged with the next person in line. Her mind lingered on the encounter with James, aware that every partnership came with its own set of challenges and opportunities. She valued integrity and transparency, qualities she hoped to instill in every collaboration. A few minutes later, Lisa, Maya's assistant, approached with a tablet in hand. "Maya, we have a meeting scheduled at 3 p.m. with Sky High Airlines. I've confirmed all the details and sent out the invites." Maya nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Great, thank you, Lisa. Let's make sure we're fully prepared. This partnership could be a significant step forward for both our companies." "Absolutely. I've compiled all the relevant data and prepared the presentation." "Is there anything else you need?" Lisa asked, her vibrant personality adding a spark to the otherwise busy environment. "Just your usual sharp eye. I want to make sure everything is flawless," Maya replied, her voice carrying the weight of responsibility and anticipation. Lisa smiled, tapping a few buttons on the tablet before turning back to Maya. "Consider it done. By the way, there's a new employee starting today in the back office. She seems a bit nervous. Maybe you could give her a warm welcome?" "Of course. We all remember what it's like to be the new person. I'll make sure she feels comfortable," Maya assured her, appreciating Lisa's attention to detail and empathy. As Maya returned to her work, the camera shifted to a quiet corner of the terminal, where a young woman entered the kiosk hesitantly. Jasmine Lee, in her early 20s, dressed casually with a backpack slung over one shoulder, looked around nervously, clutching a stack of papers tightly against her chest. Maya noticed Jasmine's unease and gestured for her to come forward. "Hi there. You must be Jasmine. Welcome to Horizon Technologies. Let me help you get settled," Maya said warmly, extending her hand. Jasmine smiled weakly, accepting the gesture. "Thank you, Miss Johnson. I'm really excited to be here." Maya's handshake was firm yet comforting. "We're thrilled to have you on board. Let's get you acquainted with the team." As Maya and Jasmine engaged in friendly conversation, the terminal's large glass windows showcased the vast runway beyond planes taxiing, engines roaring to life, and the endless movement of air traffic created a backdrop of relentless motion. In an industry driven by progress and innovation, the shadows of the past often lingered, reminding everyone that true advancement required not just technology, but a commitment to equity and understanding. Inside the kiosk, Maya's focus shifted back to her work, but her mind remained alert, aware of the subtle dynamics at play in every interaction. She believed that leadership was about more than just making decisions. It was about fostering an environment where everyone felt valued and respected, regardless of their background or position. Across the terminal, a group of young professionals gathered in a nearby seating area, discussing their upcoming flights. Derek Simmons, a black man in his mid-30s, dressed casually but impeccably, exuded a sense of quiet confidence. "Have you heard about the new partnership between Horizon and Sky High? Maya's really pushing the envelope on sustainable aviation," he remarked to his colleagues. "Yeah, I saw the press release. It's a big move. Hopefully, it smooths out some of their operational issues," one of his colleagues replied. Derek nodded thoughtfully, his eyes meeting Maya's as she continued her work. "It's initiatives like these that really make a difference. The aviation industry needs more leaders like her." Maya overheard the conversation, a faint smile playing on her lips. She appreciated the recognition, but she remained focused on the tasks at hand. Every day brought new challenges, new opportunities to drive change, and today was no different. As the evening rush intensified, travelers hurried to their gates, the atmosphere charged with anticipation and the subtle tensions of impending journeys Maya navigated her role with grace, aware that her position was both a privilege and a platform for change. She believed that her work could bridge gaps, break down barriers, and set new standards in an industry long dominated by tradition and resistance to change. The terminal's energy mirrored Maya's own drive and determination. Behind every interaction, every decision, lay the potential for growth and transformation. She was committed to ensuring that Horizon Technologies not only thrived, but also set an example of what true leadership looked like, grounded in humility, driven by purpose, and unwavering in the face of adversity. As the sun finally set, giving way to the twinkling lights of the terminal, Maya took a moment to reflect. Her journey had been anything but easy, marked by countless hours of hard work, sacrifices, and moments of doubt. Yet, each challenge had only strengthened her resolve, fueling her passion to create a better, more sustainable future. Maya glanced around the bustling terminal, the diverse crowd of travelers embodying the very essence of progress and possibility. She knew that the path ahead would continue to be fraught with challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on. With every cup of coffee served, every interaction made, she was not just running a business, she was making a statement. And in that statement, she hoped to inspire others to join her in the journey toward a more equitable and sustainable world. Ready to proceed to prompt 3 for developing the initial conflict. Maya returned to her work with a renewed focus, her thoughts briefly lingering on the encounter with James Caldwell. She valued every potential partnership, understanding that collaborations were essential for driving meaningful change in the aviation industry. As the morning progressed, the terminal's energy shifted subtly from the early rush to a more relaxed afternoon flow. Maya took a moment to observe the ebb and flow of passengers, her mind already strategizing for the upcoming meeting with Sky High Airlines. At precisely 2 p.m., Lisa approached with a tablet in hand. "Maya, it's almost time for your meeting. Sky High is expecting you in the conference room on the 3rd floor. They've arranged a private space for the discussion." Maya nodded, her expression calm yet determined. "Thank you, Lisa. Please ensure everything is set up. As we discussed, I want to make a strong impression." Lisa smiled reassuringly. "Everything is in order. I'll escort you there." As they made their way through the bustling terminal, Maya couldn't help but notice the subtle glances from some passengers. While most interactions were cordial, a few carried an undercurrent of curiosity, or perhaps skepticism. Maya had grown accustomed to navigating such dynamics, her presence often challenging preconceived notions about black women in high-powered positions. She reminded herself to stay focused, to let her work speak for itself. Entering the elevator, Maya felt a brief surge of adrenaline. The meeting with Sky High was pivotal, not just for Horizon Technologies, but also for the broader push toward sustainability in aviation. She had prepared meticulously, knowing that the stakes were high. As the elevator doors closed, she took a deep breath, centering herself. The conference room was sleek and modern, outfitted with large windows that offered a panoramic view of the airport's runway. James Caldwell was already present, along with 2 other Sky High executives, Linda Martinez, the Chief Sustainability Officer, and Mark Reynolds, the Head of Operations. They greeted Maya with professional smiles, though Maya sensed a hint of reservation in their demeanor. "Thank you for meeting with us, Maya," James began, gesturing for her to take a seat. "We're excited about the potential of our partnership." Maya returned the gesture with a warm smile. "Thank you. James Horizon Technologies is equally enthusiastic about collaborating with Sky High to advance sustainable practices in aviation." As the discussion progressed, Maya presented her proposals with clarity and passion, detailing innovative solutions that could significantly reduce Sky High's carbon footprint. She answered questions with confidence, her expertise evident in every response. However, as the meeting delved deeper into the specifics, Maya began to notice subtle shifts in the room's atmosphere. Linda Martinez asked a question about the scalability of Maya's solutions. "Maya, your ideas are impressive, but implementing such large-scale changes requires a lot of resources. How confident are you that Horizon can support Sky High through this transition?" Maya maintained her composure, understanding the gravity of the inquiry. "We've successfully implemented similar projects with other airlines, and our team is prepared to allocate the necessary resources to ensure a seamless integration with Sky High's operations." Mark Reynolds chimed in, his tone more critical. That's all well and good, but what about the costs? Sustainable initiatives often come with hefty price tags. How do you propose we manage the financial implications without compromising our bottom line? Maya took a moment to consider his question. While there are initial investments required, the long-term savings and environmental benefits far outweigh the costs. Additionally, there are government grants and incentives available for companies committed to sustainability, which we can help Sky High secure. James interjected, attempting to steer the conversation back to a positive trajectory. Maya, you've addressed the financial concerns well. What about the timeline? How long would it take to see tangible results from these implementations? Maya responded promptly. With a phased approach, we can begin seeing measurable improvements within the first year. Full integration would depend on the specific initiatives we prioritize, but we aim to have significant progress within 2 years. Despite Maya's thorough and professional responses, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The executive's questions, while seemingly standard, carried an undertone that suggested skepticism, not solely based on the project's merits. She reminded herself to stay focused, to let her expertise shine through. As the meeting drew to a close, Maya sensed a growing tension. James leaned forward, his expression serious. Maya, we appreciate your proposals. However, there are a few concerns we'd like to address before moving forward. Maya nodded, maintaining her calm demeanor. Of course, I'm here to answer any questions or clarify any points you might have. Linda glanced at James before turning her attention back to Maya. One of our main concerns revolves around the implementation process. How do you plan to handle potential resistance from our existing staff, especially those who might be hesitant about these changes? Maya met her gaze steadily. Change management is a crucial component of any successful implementation. We'll conduct comprehensive training sessions, provide continuous support, and ensure open lines of communication to address any concerns promptly. It's essential to involve the entire team to foster a culture of sustainability. Mark leaned back in his chair, a skeptical look on his face. And what about accountability? How can we ensure that these initiatives are not just a one-time effort, but become ingrained in our company's operations? Maya smiled slightly, appreciating the directness of his question. By establishing clear metrics and regular progress reviews, we can track the effectiveness of each initiative. Additionally, integrating sustainability goals into Sky High's core mission statement will reinforce the commitment across all levels of the organization. The room remained silent for a moment. The air thick with unspoken doubts, Maya could feel the weight of their skepticism, a subtle yet palpable bias that seemed to question not just her proposals, but her ability to lead such a significant change. She took a deep breath, choosing her next words carefully. Sky High Airlines has the potential to set a new standard in sustainable aviation. Together, we can make a meaningful impact, not just on your operations, but on the industry as a whole. I'm confident that with our combined efforts, we can achieve remarkable results. James nodded, attempting to mask his reservations. Thank you, Maya. We'll take your proposals into consideration and get back to you shortly. As Maya gathered her materials, she couldn't help but feel a sense of frustration. The meeting had been thorough, yet the underlying tension suggested that her expertise was being undervalued. She had anticipated challenges, but the subtle dismissals hinted at biases she had hoped were fading in the modern corporate landscape. Walking out of the conference room, Maya exchanged a glance with Lisa, who offered a supportive smile. How did it go? Maya sighed softly. It was a productive discussion, but I felt like there was more skepticism than I'd expected. I'll have to follow up and address any lingering concerns. Lisa placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Don't let it get to you, Maya. You've done everything right. Sometimes, change is met with resistance, but that doesn't mean it's not achievable. Maya nodded, appreciating Lisa's unwavering support. You're right. I'll keep pushing forward. We have a great opportunity here. As they made their way back to the kiosk, Maya's thoughts were a whirlwind of ideas and strategies. She reflected on the meeting, analyzing every question and response, seeking areas where she could strengthen her proposals or better address the executive's concerns. Her mind raced with possibilities, fueled by both determination and a lingering sense of injustice. Later that afternoon, Maya decided to take a moment for herself. She stepped outside the kiosk, feeling the warmth of the setting sun on her face. The terminal's hum was a constant backdrop, but she found solace in the brief respite from her responsibilities. As she stood there, a group of teenagers loitered nearby, their loud laughter piercing the relative calm. One of them, a tall boy with an air of mischief, noticed Maya and called out, "Hey, aren't you that CEO lady, the black woman running that coffee joint?" Maya smiled politely, appreciating the recognition. "That's me. How can I help you guys today?" The boy grinned, pulling out his phone. "We heard you have the best coffee in the airport. Mind if we grab a few cups?" Maya chuckled, her demeanor friendly. "Of course not. Make yourselves comfortable." As the teenagers moved to place their orders, Maya watched them with a sense of contentment. Moments like these reminded her of why she chose this path, connecting with people, fostering community, and breaking down barriers, one interaction at a time. However, her brief moment of peace was interrupted by a call on her phone. She glanced at the screen. An unknown number. Curious, she answered. "Hello, Maya speaking. Miss Johnson, this is Officer Daniels from Airport Security. We need to speak with you regarding an incident that occurred earlier today." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "An incident? What do you mean?" Officer Daniels's voice was brisk. "We received a report about a disturbance near your kiosk. Could you please come down to security for a moment?" Maya felt a knot form in her stomach. "Disturbance? I'm not sure what you're referring to. I was busy serving customers all day." "There have been some complaints, ma'am. We'd like to ask you a few questions to clarify the situation." Maya took a deep breath, maintaining her composure. "Of course, I'll be right there." She hung up and exchanged a worried glance with Lisa. "What's going on?" Lisa's eyes widened with concern. "I'm not sure, maybe something happened you didn't notice." Maya shook her head, determination replacing her initial anxiety. "I'll find out. Come on." They made their way to the security office, passing through the bustling terminal. As they approached, Maya could see a few other security officers milling about, their expressions a mix of professionalism and suspicion. She tried to stay calm, reminding herself that whatever was happening, she could handle it. Inside the security office, Officer Daniels was waiting, his demeanor serious. "Thank you for coming, Ms. Johnson." Maya offered a polite nod. "How can I help you, officer?" "We received a report that a customer had a confrontation with you over a service issue. Can you tell us what happened?" Maya's mind raced. "I handle customer service all day. If there was a confrontation, I wasn't aware of it. I strive to ensure every customer is satisfied." Officer Daniels frowned slightly. "We have a statement from a passenger who claimed that you were rude and dismissive during an interaction. Can you explain that?" Maya felt a pang of frustration. "I'm sorry if anyone felt that way. I always aim to treat every customer with respect and professionalism. If there was a misunderstanding, I'd like to address it." The officer glanced at his notes, then back at Maya. "Mrs. Johnson, we take these reports seriously. Can you recall any specific incidents today that might have led to this complaint?" Maya pondered for a moment, trying to remember any unusual interactions. "Not off the top of my head. I served many customers. As usual. Perhaps someone mistook my firmness for rudeness." Officer Daniels leaned forward, his expression unyielding. "We need to ensure that all employees maintain a welcoming environment. Do you have any reason to believe someone might have targeted you?" Maya's frustration simmered beneath her calm exterior. "I can't think of anyone specific. I treat everyone equally, regardless of their background or demeanor. If someone felt disrespected, it wasn't my intention." The officer sighed, scribbling notes. "We'll need to follow up on this, but for now, please continue your duties. If you hear anything from your end, let us know." Maya nodded, rising from her seat. "Of course, thank you for letting me know." As she left the security office, Maya felt a mix of emotions, confusion, frustration, and a growing sense of unease. She knew that being a black woman in a position of power often meant navigating biases and prejudices, sometimes hidden beneath layers of professionalism. The complaint seemed out of the ordinary, but she couldn't dismiss the possibility that someone had targeted her based on assumptions or misconceptions. Returning to her kiosk, Maya found Lisa waiting with a concerned look. "Are you okay?" Maya forced a smile, though her mind was racing. "I'm fine. It might have been a misunderstanding. I'll make sure to handle it appropriately." As she resumed her duties, Maya couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. The meeting with Sky High had been challenging, and now this unexpected complaint added another layer of complexity. She knew that systemic biases were still very much a part of the landscape, often manifesting in subtle yet impactful ways. Maya's journey was not just about advancing sustainability in aviation, but also about challenging and overcoming the prejudices that lingered within and beyond the industry. Later that evening, as the terminal began to quiet down, Maya took a moment to gather her thoughts. The sun had set, and the artificial lights of the airport cast a soft glow over the surroundings. She sat down at her kiosk, her mind replaying the day's interactions. The meeting, the unexpected complaint, each event had tested her resolve, pushing her to stay grounded amidst the rising tensions. She reached for her phone, contemplating her next steps. Addressing the complaint was essential, but Maya knew that maintaining her professionalism was paramount. She couldn't let a single negative interaction overshadow her efforts and the positive impact she was striving to make. Yet, the underlying biases that sometimes influenced these interactions were a stark reminder of the work that still needed to be done. As she pondered, Jasmine approached the kiosk, her eyes reflecting a mix of nervousness and eagerness. "Ms. Johnson, I just wanted to check in and see how I'm doing." Maya smiled warmly, appreciating Jasmine's initiative. "You're doing great, Jasmine. Keep up the good work. Remember, we're all here to support each other." Jasmine nodded, visibly more relaxed. "Thanks, Maya. I was a bit nervous at first, but you've made everything so welcoming." Maya placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "That's what we're here for. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask." As Jasmine walked away, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. Despite the day's challenges, she remained committed to her role, both as a leader and as a mentor. Her interactions with her team and customers were a testament to her belief in fostering an inclusive and respectful environment. However, as the night deepened and the terminal's lights flickered softly, Maya's thoughts returned to the meeting and the complaint. She knew that addressing these issues head-on was crucial, not just for her own reputation, but for the broader mission she championed. Systemic biases were deeply ingrained, and each instance, no matter how small, was a reminder of the barriers that still existed. Determined to navigate these challenges with grace, Maya decided to reach out to her legal team the following morning, ensuring that her company upheld the highest standards of professionalism and inclusivity was non-negotiable. She couldn't allow any actions, intentional or otherwise, to undermine the values she stood for. As she prepared to close up for the night, Maya took one last look around the kiosk. The day's events had been taxing, but she remained steadfast in her commitment to drive change. With a final deep breath, she turned off the lights, the soft hum of the terminal fading into the background as she stepped out into the cool evening air. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but Maya was ready to face them head-on. Her resilience, combined with her unwavering dedication to equity and sustainability, would guide her through the storms that lay ahead. She walked away from the kiosk, her head held high, knowing that each step she took was a stride towards a more just and sustainable future, ready to proceed to prompt 4 for the pivotal moment of the story. Maya returned to her kiosk, her mind still reeling from the unexpected complaint. The evening rush had begun, and the terminal was now a hive of activity, with travelers hurrying to their gates and airport staff managing the flurry of last-minute preparations. She took a deep breath, reminding herself to stay focused despite the lingering tension from the earlier encounter. As she handed a steaming cup of coffee to a weary traveler, her phone buzzed again. This time, the screen displayed an incoming call from her assistant, Lisa. Maya hesitated for a moment before answering, her professional demeanor masking the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. "Hello, Lisa." "Maya, you need to come to the security office immediately. They want to speak with you again," Lisa said, her voice tight with concern. Maya's heart sank. "Is everything okay?" "I'm not sure. Officer Daniels is insisting that we go back. He mentioned something about additional witnesses coming forward," Lisa replied. Maya nodded, though Lisa couldn't see her. "All right, let's go." They made their way back to the security office, the terminal now bathed in the soft glow of evening lights. As they approached, Maya could see a small crowd gathered outside the office, whispers and murmurs filling the air. Her pulse quickened, a sense of foreboding settling in her stomach. Officer Daniels stood at the center, flanked by 2 other officers. His stern expression did little to alleviate Maya's growing unease. "Ms. Johnson, please come in." Inside, the room was stark and impersonal. With a long table and several chairs, Maya took her seat across from Officer Daniels, who shuffled a stack of papers before looking up at her. "We've received additional statements regarding the incident at your kiosk today," he began, his tone clipped. "Several passengers have come forward with concerns about your conduct." Maya maintained her composure, though her mind raced to recall any interactions that might have sparked these complaints. "I strive to treat every customer with respect and professionalism. If someone felt otherwise, I sincerely apologize." Officer Daniels raised an eyebrow. "Apologies are noted, but we need to understand the specifics. Can you provide any insight into what might have caused these concerns?" Maya shook her head slightly. "I serve a high volume of customers daily. It's possible there was a misunderstanding or miscommunication. I'm committed to ensuring a positive experience for everyone." Just then, a young officer entered the room, his expression grave. "Officer Daniels, we have a witness who insists that you were unnecessarily harsh with Ms. Johnson." Maya's heart pounded in her chest. "Another witness, I assure you. I handle all situations with care." The officer hesitated before pointing to a seat across the table. "Please, introduce yourself." A young man in his early 20s, dressed in casual attire, took a seat. His nervous demeanor was evident as he cleared his throat. "I'm Kevin Matthews. I was sitting near Maya's kiosk earlier. I saw an exchange where she seemed upset with a customer." Maya exchanged a brief glance with Lisa, who gave her a supportive nod. "Kevin, can you describe what you saw?" Kevin fidgeted with his hands before responding. "I saw Maya and a passenger arguing about an order." Maya seemed frustrated. She raised her voice, and the passenger looked upset. Maya took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. Kevin, I apologize if it seemed that way. There was a moment of misunderstanding, but I addressed it calmly and professionally." Kevin looked unconvinced. It just seemed like Maya was being rude. The passenger was clearly upset, and Maya wasn't trying to de-escalate the situation. Maya felt a surge of frustration, but kept her voice steady. "I understand how it might have appeared that way from a distance. My priority is always to resolve conflicts amicably and ensure customer satisfaction." Officer Daniels scribbled notes furiously. "Ms. Johnson, do you have any evidence or records of your interactions that could help clarify this situation?" Maya reached into her bag and pulled out her tablet, flipping it open to display her customer service logs and transaction records. "Here are the records from today. You'll see that I handled each customer interaction with the utmost professionalism." Officer Daniels reviewed the information, his expression unreadable. "We'll need to verify these records, but so far, your documentation appears thorough." As the meeting continued, Maya felt the weight of systemic biases pressing down on her. She knew that being a black woman in a leadership position often meant facing prejudices that weren't always overt, but lingered in subtle forms. The complaint, though seemingly out of the ordinary, felt like a manifestation of those ingrained biases. After what felt like an eternity, Officer Daniels finally nodded. "We'll conduct a thorough investigation and get back to you. In the meantime, please remain available for any further questions." Maya stood, her legs feeling heavy, but her resolve unshaken. "Of course, thank you for your time." As she left the security office, Maya felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. Lisa was waiting outside, her face etched with worry. "Are you okay?" Maya forced a reassuring smile. "Yes, I'll be fine. It might have been a misunderstanding, but we'll handle it." Lisa placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Maya, don't let this get to you. You're doing an incredible job." Maya nodded, appreciating her assistant's support. "Thank you, Lisa. I just hope we can clear this up quickly." Back at the kiosk, Maya resumed her duties, though her mind was preoccupied with the unfolding situation. As she served the next customer, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something larger. The subtle yet persistent biases she had faced were now manifesting in unexpected ways, challenging her both personally and professionally. Later that evening, as the terminal began to quiet down, Maya decided to take a walk outside to clear her mind. The cool night air was a welcome respite from the day's tensions. She walked toward the parking lot, her thoughts racing with strategies to address the false accusations and the underlying prejudices that fueled them. As she reached her car, she noticed a sleek black sedan pulling into a nearby parking space. The driver stepped out, a man in his late 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. His presence exuded authority, and Maya felt a flicker of recognition. It was James Caldwell from Sky High Airlines. "Ms. Johnson," James greeted, his tone surprisingly warm. "May I have a word?" Maya hesitated, sensing the tension in his posture. "Of course. James, is everything all right?" James glanced around cautiously before speaking. "I wanted to apologize for any discomfort you might have felt during our meeting earlier. I realize now that my approach may have come off as dismissive." Maya raised an eyebrow, intrigued by his sudden change in demeanor. "I appreciate that, James. It's important that we maintain open and respectful communication." James took a step closer, his expression earnest. "Beyond our partnership discussions, I wanted to let you know that if there's anything you need regarding the complaint, I'm here to help. I believe in what Horizon Technologies stands for, and I wouldn't want any misunderstandings to hinder our collaboration." Maya studied him for a moment, sensing a genuine desire to mend fences. "Thank you, James. Your support means a lot. We'll do everything we can to resolve the situation swiftly." James nodded, offering a sincere smile. "I'm confident it will be sorted out soon. If there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to reach out." As James walked away, Maya felt a flicker of hope. Despite the day's challenges, there were allies within the system who recognized the importance of fairness and respect. She knew she couldn't tackle this issue alone, and having support from influential figures like James could be instrumental in navigating the complexities ahead. Driving home, Maya's phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email notification from her legal team. She glanced at the screen and quickly pulled over to read it. The email was brief, but contained urgent instructions to prepare for a potential legal confrontation. It seemed the complaint had gained more traction than she had anticipated. Maya's mind raced as she absorbed the information. The situation was escalating, and the stakes were higher than ever. She knew that addressing systemic biases required more than just professional composure. It required strategic action and unwavering determination. That night, Maya sat in her home office, the soft glow of her desk lamp illuminating her workspace. She reviewed the legal team's recommendations, noting the steps they needed to take to defend herself and her company's reputation. The more she delved into the details, the more she realized the depth of the challenge she faced. This wasn't just a single complaint. It was a reflection of broader societal issues that required a multifaceted approach. As she strategized, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Derek Simmons, the young professional she had overheard earlier discussing her partnership with Sky High. "Hey Maya, heard about the complaint. If you need anything, I'm here to help. Let me know." Maya felt a surge of gratitude. "Thanks, Derek. I might take you up on that." The following morning, Maya met with her legal team, including her trusted attorney, Sarah Patel. They discussed the necessary steps to counter the false accusations and protect her company's integrity. Maya's resolve hardened. She was determined to fight not just for herself, but for every individual who had faced similar injustices. Meanwhile, back at Sky High Airlines headquarters, James Caldwell convened a meeting with his senior executives. The recent complaint had raised red flags, and James was determined to support Maya in any way possible. "We need to ensure that our partnership with Horizon Technologies remains strong," James asserted, his voice firm. "Maya is a valuable asset, and we can't let unfounded accusations jeopardize our collaboration." Linda Martinez, the Chief Sustainability Officer, nodded in agreement. "I'll ensure that our PR team is prepared to address any potential fallout. It's crucial that we handle this delicately to maintain our reputation." Mark Reynolds, head of operations, looked uneasy. "We should also reach out to Maya's team to offer our support. It's in our best interest to resolve this amicably." James appreciated their proactive approach. "Exactly. Let's do everything we can to assist Maya and ensure that this situation is handled fairly. Our commitment to sustainability and equity should extend beyond our business dealings." As the days passed, Maya continued to navigate the challenges with grace and determination. She held meetings with her team, addressing the complaint head-on and reinforcing the company's values of respect and inclusivity. Her leadership inspired her employees, fostering a sense of unity and purpose within Horizon Technologies. One afternoon, as Maya was preparing for another meeting with her legal team, she received an unexpected visit from Derek Simmons. He had taken the initiative to become more involved, recognizing the importance of standing up against systemic injustices. "Maya, I heard about the situation. I want to help in any way I can," Derek said, his voice steady and sincere. Maya welcomed his support with a grateful smile. "Thank you, Derek. Your assistance could make a significant difference." Together, they began strategizing ways to amplify Maya's voice and highlight the broader issues at play. They reached out to allies within the community, organizing meetings and planning outreach efforts to garner support. Maya's resolve strengthened as she saw the collective power of unity and solidarity. However, just as things seemed to be gaining momentum, a new challenge emerged. Officer Daniels returned with a restraining order, claiming that Maya's actions at the kiosk had escalated the situation beyond professional boundaries. The order demanded that Maya cease all business operations at the airport and prohibited her from entering the premises. Maya was stunned. "This is baseless. I have done nothing to warrant such a measure." Officer Daniels remained unmoved. "The court has reviewed the statements and decided that it's in the best interest of all parties involved to issue this order. Failure to comply will result in further legal action." Maya felt a surge of anger and frustration, but forced herself to remain calm. "This is an injustice. I'll be appealing the decision immediately." As she left the office, Maya was met by Derek, who had been informed of the restraining order. "We need to act quickly," he urged. "This is turning into a bigger issue than we anticipated." Maya nodded, her determination unwavering. "You're right. Let's mobilize our resources and prepare for the legal battle ahead." Back at Horizon Technologies, Maya's team rallied around her, their support unwavering. They organized fundraisers, reached out to influential figures, and used social media to highlight the injustice she was facing. The story gained traction, drawing attention from media outlets and advocacy groups dedicated to combating systemic discrimination. One evening, as Maya reviewed the latest developments, her phone buzzed with a message from James Caldwell. "Maya, I've spoken with our legal team. We're prepared to back you fully in this matter. Let me know how we can assist." Maya felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you, James. Your support is invaluable." As the situation intensified, Maya found herself at the center of a growing movement advocating for equity and justice within the aviation industry. The heightened conflict tested her resilience, but her unwavering commitment to her principles fueled her determination to overcome the challenges. One fateful night, as Maya prepared for a crucial meeting with her legal team, she received a call from her father, Malcolm Collins, one of the most influential black business leaders in the country. "Maya, I've been following the situation closely. We need to take decisive action to ensure your voice is heard and justice is served," Malcolm stated, his voice steady and authoritative. Maya felt a surge of empowerment. "I appreciate your support, Dad. I'm ready to do whatever it takes." Malcolm's response was immediate and resolute. "We're arranging a press conference to address the situation publicly. It's time to shine a light on the systemic issues at play and demand accountability." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility and the strength of her father's support. "Let's do it. It's time to take a stand." As the days progressed, the momentum built. Supporters from all walks of life rallied behind Maya, their voices united in the fight against injustice. The media spotlight intensified, bringing widespread attention to the incident and the broader issues of systemic bias and discrimination within the aviation industry. Finally, the day of the press conference arrived. Maya stood before a crowd of reporters, her team, and supportive allies, exuding confidence and determination. She knew that this was the pivotal moment that would define her journey and potentially spark meaningful change. As she prepared to address the audience, she felt a surge of adrenaline. This was her moment to stand up against the injustice she had faced and to advocate for a more equitable and respectful society. Maya took a deep breath, her gaze steady as she began to speak, unaware of the dramatic turn her story was about to take. Maya sat at her desk, the soft glow of her laptop screen illuminating her determined expression. The legal team's recommendations were clear. They needed to act swiftly and strategically to counter the restraining order and the mounting accusations. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages of support and offers to help, each one a reminder that she wasn't alone in this fight. She reviewed the day's agenda, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and strategies. The press conference with her father, Malcolm Collins, was scheduled for the following morning. This was her moment to not only defend herself, but to shine a light on the systemic issues that had come to the forefront of her life. Maya knew that this confrontation would set the tone for the battle ahead. As evening settled over Atlanta, Maya decided to take a walk to clear her mind. The city was alive with lights, the terminal's hustle now a distant hum compared to the storm brewing within her. She drove to her favorite quiet spot, a small park near her home where the chaos of the day felt miles away. Sitting on a bench beneath a towering oak tree, she reflected on the day's events. Her phone buzzed again, breaking her reverie. It was a message from Derek Simmons. "Maya, urgent meeting at 5 p.m. Got something important to share." Maya's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't anticipated any further developments today. She quickly replied, agreeing to meet him at her office. Gathering her thoughts, she returned home to prepare for the unexpected meeting. At 5 p.m., Maya entered her office to find Derek waiting, his usual confident demeanor now tinged with anxiety. He gestured for her to sit. "Maya, there's something you need to know," Derek began, his voice low. "I've been digging into the complaint and the restraining order. It turns out Officer Daniels has a history of targeting black business owners. He's been involved in several similar cases where the complaints were unfounded." Maya felt a surge of anger and frustration. "Are you saying this is personal?" Derek nodded grimly. "Exactly. It appears that Officer Daniels has a vendetta against successful black entrepreneurs. He's been using these complaints as a way to undermine and intimidate them." Maya clenched her fists, fighting to maintain her composure. "This is unacceptable. We need to expose his pattern of behavior." Derek leaned forward, his eyes steady. "I agree, but we need solid evidence. I've already started compiling records of his previous encounters, but we'll need more to build a strong case." Maya took a deep breath, her resolve strengthening. "I'll reach out to my network and see if anyone else has had similar experiences. Together we can bring this to light." As they strategized, Maya's phone rang again. This time, it was Malcolm Collins. She answered, feeling the weight of her father's support. "Maya, I've been briefed on the situation. We're moving forward with the press conference as planned," Malcolm stated, his voice steady and commanding. "This is the perfect opportunity to address not only your situation, but also the broader issues of systemic bias and discrimination." Maya nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you, Dad. Your support means everything." Malcolm continued, "I'll handle the press relations on my end. Make sure you're prepared to speak from the heart. This isn't just about you, it's about making a statement that these injustices will no longer be tolerated." As the call ended, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that the path ahead was fraught with challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on. Her thoughts were interrupted by another urgent message from Lisa. "Maya, security is escalating the situation. More officers are arriving, and they're getting aggressive." Maya's blood ran cold. "I'm on my way." She rushed out of her office, finding Lisa waiting with a worried expression. "What's happening?" Lisa shook her head, her eyes wide with concern. "It's worse than before. Officer Daniels isn't alone this time. He's brought in additional officers, and they're claiming there's been further misconduct on your part." Maya's mind raced. "What kind of misconduct?" Lisa glanced around nervously before responding. "They said you were causing disturbances and disrupting operations. They're bringing in witness statements, but I believe they're fabricated." Determined not to let this injustice go unchecked, Maya stood tall. "We need to fight this. I'll call my legal team immediately." As she reached for her phone, a group of officers entered the office, their presence imposing and unwelcoming. Officer Daniels led the way, his expression twisted with a mix of anger and vindictiveness. "Maya Johnson," Daniels called out, his voice dripping with contempt. "You're coming with us." Maya met his gaze with unwavering determination. "I'm not going anywhere. I have nothing to hide." One of the officers stepped forward, attempting to intimidate her. You need to comply, Miss Johnson. This is for your own good. Maya felt the weight of their authority pressing down on her, but she refused to back down. I won't let you bully me into submission. This is unjust, and I will fight every step of the way. Daniels smirked, signaling the officers to move forward. That's not a threat, Miss Johnson. It's a promise. As they attempted to escort her out, Maya's mind raced with thoughts of her upcoming press conference, her father's support, and the evidence Derek had uncovered. She knew she couldn't let them take her down without a fight. Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the terminal. A group of passengers had gathered, murmuring and watching the unfolding scene with a mix of curiosity and concern. Maya saw familiar faces among them, supporters who had heard about her situation and were now rallying behind her. "Stop this!" a voice called out from the crowd. It was Jasmine Lee, the new employee Maya had welcomed earlier. "Leave her alone!" Officer Daniels glared at Jasmine, his patience waning. "This doesn't concern you, young lady, move along!" Jasmine stood her ground, her voice steady despite her fear. "It does concern me. It's not right to treat someone this way based on unfounded accusations." The crowd began to grow, with more passengers stepping forward to support Maya. Among them was Derek Simmons, who pushed through the crowd to reach her side. "This isn't right. You have every right to defend yourself." Daniels, frustrated by the growing resistance, turned to the officers. "Enough of this. We're taking her now." As they moved to restrain Maya, a voice rang out over the loudspeaker. "Attention, everyone! Please remain calm and allow security to handle the situation." But the crowd was no longer willing to stay silent. People began to chant, their voices rising in a unified demand for justice. Maya felt a surge of hope as she saw the solidarity among the passengers. She knew that this moment was a turning point, not just for her, but for everyone who had ever faced similar injustices. Officer Daniels, realizing the untenable situation, hesitated for a moment before pulling out his handcuffs. Maya looked around, seeing her supporters' faces filled with determination and compassion. She felt a renewed sense of strength, fueled by their unwavering support. "Let me go," Maya demanded, her voice firm. "I won't let you silence me." Daniel's frustration boiled over. "You think you can intimidate us? This is how it works, Ms. Johnson. You cause a scene and you get removed." Maya shook her head, refusing to be cowed. "This isn't about causing a scene, it's about standing up against unjust treatment. If you continue, you'll only be making things worse." As the officers moved closer, the crowd's chants grew louder, their presence making it increasingly difficult for the officers to proceed. Maya felt the tension reaching its peak, the stakes higher than ever before. This was no longer just a personal battle, it was a fight against systemic corruption and prejudice. Just as the situation seemed on the brink of escalation, Malcolm Collins arrived at the terminal. His presence alone commanded attention, the influential black business leader exuding authority and strength. He approached Maya swiftly, placing a protective arm around her shoulders. "What's going on here?" Malcolm demanded, his voice loud and clear. "This is unacceptable." Officer Daniels stepped back, clearly intimidated by Malcolm's imposing presence. "Mr. Collins, this is none of your business." Malcolm's eyes narrowed. "It is my business when one of my protégés is being unjustly treated. Release her immediately." Maya felt a surge of gratitude and determination. With her father's support, she knew she had the backing she needed to confront the injustice head-on. The crowd's support had already swelled, and now Malcolm's intervention added a powerful ally to her side. Daniels hesitated, the officers shifting uncomfortably under Malcolm's gaze. "Mr. Collins, we're just doing our jobs," he protested weakly. Malcolm stepped forward, his presence unwavering. "Doing your jobs involves upholding the law fairly, and without prejudice. What you're doing here is nothing short of harassment and discrimination." The crowd grew louder, their chants now a unified call for justice. Maya felt the tension in the air thickening, the moment teetering on the edge of transformation. "Officer Daniels," Malcolm continued, his voice resolute, "if you have any evidence to support these allegations, I expect you to present it immediately, otherwise, you will be held accountable for your actions." Daniels glared at both Maya and Malcolm, his frustration palpable. "We have protocols to follow, Miss Johnson. Please cooperate, or we will be forced to take further action." Maya stood tall, her resolve unshaken. "I have nothing to hide. If you want to follow protocols, then do so transparently and without bias. I won't be intimidated." The situation hung in the balance. The crowd's support creating a formidable barrier against the officers' attempts to control the narrative. Maya and Malcolm stood united, their determination shining through the chaos surrounding them. Just as it seemed the officers would relent, a voice from the crowd cut through the tension. "Enough, let her speak her truth." The crowd surged forward, their collective strength making it impossible for the officers to proceed without drawing further backlash. Realizing the futility of their position, Officer Daniels signaled to his team to back off. "Fine," he spat, his authority slipping away. "This isn't over." As the officers retreated, Maya and Malcolm took a moment to catch their breath. The adrenaline still coursing through their veins, the crowd began to disperse, their support having made a significant impact on the situation. Malcolm turned to Maya, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "You handled that exceptionally well. Your strength and composure inspired everyone here." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "This is just the beginning. We need to use this momentum to push for real change." Derek approached, his face flushed with emotion. "Maya, that was incredible. You stood your ground and rallied everyone together. I believe this will have a lasting impact." Maya smiled, though her mind was already racing ahead. "Thank you, Derek. We have to keep moving forward. There's still so much work to be done." As they walked away from the scene, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation for what was to come. The restraining order had been a catalyst, igniting a fire within her to fight against the injustices she faced and those faced by countless others. The support from her community, her allies, and her father had given her the strength to stand up against the systemic biases that sought to undermine her. But she knew that the battle was far from over. The restraining order had been lifted, but the fight for justice and equity was just beginning. Maya's journey had reached a critical turning point, one that would test her resilience, her leadership, and her unwavering commitment to making a difference. As the night deepened and the terminal settled into a quieter rhythm, Maya stood on the sidewalk, gazing up at the lights of the airport. The sky was a deep indigo, dotted with stars that seemed to mirror the countless possibilities ahead. She felt a surge of determination, knowing that she was not alone in this fight. With a final deep breath, Maya turned and walked toward her car, ready to take the next decisive step in her journey. The path ahead was uncertain, but she was resolute in her mission to challenge the status quo and pave the way for a more just and equitable future. Maya sat in her home office, the soft hum of her computer providing a steady backdrop to her thoughts. The day's events had left her exhausted, yet more determined than ever. The restraining order had been lifted, but the fight was far from over. With Derek's discovery of Officer Daniels' troubling history and her father's unwavering support, Maya felt a surge of hope. However, the looming press conference with Malcolm Collins was just around the corner, and the stakes were higher than ever. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across her workspace, Maya received a call from Sarah Patel, her trusted attorney. "Maya, we need to discuss the latest developments." Sarah's voice was firm, yet empathetic. Maya leaned forward, her eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and fatigue. "What's the latest?" Sarah began, outlining the evidence Derek had gathered on Officer Daniels. "We have substantial proof that Daniels has a pattern of targeting black business owners. There are multiple complaints, some of which were dismissed without proper investigation. This ties into your case directly." Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach. This is exactly what we needed. How do we proceed? "We need to present this evidence both legally and publicly. It's time to expose Daniels' misconduct and the systemic biases within the airport's security protocols," Sarah advised. "Additionally, we should coordinate with Malcolm for the press conference to maximize our impact." Maya nodded, absorbing the information. "I'll reach out to Malcolm and ensure he's prepared to speak on this." Later that evening, Maya met with Derek at a quiet cafe, away from the prying eyes of the terminal. The dim lighting and soft chatter provided a safe space for their urgent conversation. "Derek, this evidence is incredible," Maya began, her voice steady despite the tension. "With this, we can not only defend ourselves, but also bring about real change." Derek leaned in, his expression serious. Absolutely, Daniels isn't just a corrupt officer. He's part of a larger system that perpetuates these injustices. We need to make sure everyone knows the extent of his actions. Maya felt a surge of determination. Let's compile everything and prepare for the press conference. This is our chance to shine a light on what's been happening. As they strategized, the weight of their mission pressed down on them. The fight against systemic bias was daunting, but Maya's resilience and unwavering commitment to justice fueled their resolve. The next morning, the airport was abuzz with anticipation. Maya arrived early. Her presence commanding yet approachable. Malcolm Collins was already there, his demeanor calm and authoritative. Together, they reviewed the final details of the press conference, ensuring every aspect was meticulously planned. As noon approached, Maya took a moment to compose herself, reflecting on the journey that had led her here. The support from her team, the backing of her father, and the solidarity of the community had fortified her spirit. She knew that the confrontation with Officer Daniels was imminent, and the outcome would have far-reaching implications. The press conference room was filled with reporters, camera crews, and concerned onlookers. Maya and Malcolm stood at the podium, their presence exuding strength and unity. As the room settled into silence, Maya began to speak, her voice clear and unwavering. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I stand before you not just as the CEO of Horizon Technologies, but as someone who has experienced firsthand the injustices that persist within our systems. She paused, allowing her words to resonate. Recently, I faced a false accusation and an unjust restraining order initiated by Officer Daniels at Atlanta International Airport. This incident was not an isolated event, but part of a disturbing pattern of behavior that targets black business owners and perpetuates systemic bias. A murmur rippled through the crowd, the gravity of her statement sinking in. Maya continued, "With the help of my dedicated team and allies like Derek Simmons, we've uncovered evidence that Officer Daniels has a history of targeting individuals based on their race and success. These actions are not only unethical, but also illegal, and they must be addressed to ensure fairness and equality for all." As she spoke, Derek shared the compiled evidence on a large screen behind her, displaying documentation of Daniels' previous misconduct. The room buzzed with activity as reporters took notes and prepared their questions. Just as Maya felt a sense of accomplishment, the door to the conference room swung open, and Officer Daniels entered, flanked by a group of uniformed officers. His face was a mask of anger and defiance, eyes darting around the room filled with witnesses. "Maya Johnson!" Daniels spat, his voice echoing through the room. "You think you can tarnish my reputation with your lies and manipulation?" Maya stood her ground, her eyes locked on Daniels. "Officer Daniels, this isn't about tarnishing reputations, it's about exposing the truth and holding those in power accountable for their actions." Daniels took a step forward, his expression darkening. "You have no evidence these accusations are baseless and driven by your own vendetta." Maya felt her internal strength rise, her resolve unshaken. "On the contrary, we have substantial evidence demonstrating your pattern of misconduct and discrimination. This is about justice and ensuring that no one else has to endure what I did." The tension in the room was palpable, the air thick with anticipation. Reporters leaned forward, capturing every moment of the escalating confrontation. Daniels, realizing the overwhelming support Maya had, tried to regain control. "This is a farce. I demand that you cease these defamatory actions immediately." Maya responded firmly. "I will not stop until the truth is fully revealed and systemic changes are implemented to prevent future injustices." At that moment, Malcolm stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. "Officer Daniels, your actions have not only harmed Maya Johnson, but have also undermined the integrity of the entire security system at Atlanta International Airport. This behavior is unacceptable and will not be tolerated." Daniels's facade of authority began to crack as the weight of Malcolm's words settled in. "What are you going to do about it?" he sneered. Malcolm maintained his composure, his voice steady. "We are taking this to the highest levels. Legal action will be pursued, and your actions will be exposed to the public. The community deserves transparency and accountability." As the confrontation reached its peak, the crowd erupted in a mixture of support for Maya and indignation towards Daniels. Reporters scrambled to capture the unfolding drama, their cameras and microphones pointed directly at the duo. In a desperate attempt to salvage his position, Daniels lunged forward, attempting to grab Maya's arm. The room gasped as the physical confrontation unfolded. Maya, anticipating the move, deftly sidestepped his grasp, maintaining her stance without retaliation. "Don't stoop to his level," Malcolm interjected, placing a protective hand on Maya's shoulder. "This isn't about physical confrontation. It's about the truth." Daniels, now visibly flustered, struggled to regain his composure. "You're making a spectacle of this, Maya. Is this really what you want?" Maya met his gaze with unwavering determination. "Yes, Daniels. I want everyone to see the truth behind your actions and the systemic issues that allow such behavior to persist." As the officers tried to regain control, a group of passengers who had witnessed the earlier confrontation stepped forward, voicing their support for Maya. "This is not acceptable," one of them declared. "You can't treat people this way based on their race or success." The solidarity from the crowd amplified the pressure on Daniels and his team. Realizing that he was losing control of the situation, Daniels backed away, his expression a mix of frustration and defeat. "Enough," he muttered, signaling his officers to step back. "This isn't over, Maya Johnson." Maya stood tall, her resolve stronger than ever. "It's already started, Daniels. The fight for justice and equality continues, and I won't stop until meaningful change is achieved." As Daniels and his officers exited the room, the atmosphere remained charged with emotion and anticipation. Maya and Malcolm took a moment to catch their breath, the weight of the confrontation heavy, but not broken. Derek approached, his face flushed with emotion. "Maya, that was incredible. You stood your ground and held nothing back. This is just the beginning of something bigger." Maya nodded, feeling the support of her allies bolster her spirit. "Thank you, Derek. We have to keep pushing forward. There's so much more work to be done." As the press conference concluded, Maya felt a sense of accomplishment mixed with the urgency of the battle ahead. The confrontation with Officer Daniels had exposed the deep-seated biases within the system, galvanizing her mission to fight for justice and equality. However, the battle was far from over. As Maya and Malcolm left the conference room, they were approached by a well-dressed man who had been quietly observing the proceedings. It was James Caldwell from Sky High Airlines. "Maya, Malcolm," James greeted, his tone sincere. "I wanted to offer my personal support. What you did today was not only brave, but necessary." Maya appreciated his words. "Thank you, James. Your support means a lot, especially now." James nodded, his expression serious. "If there's anything Sky High can do to assist, please let me know. We're committed to partnering with you in this fight." As they conversed, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that Daniels's actions were just the tip of the iceberg. The revelation of his misconduct hinted at deeper issues within the airport's security and perhaps even within the broader corporate structure of Sky High Airlines. That night, Maya returned home, her mind racing with thoughts and strategies. She knew that the confrontation with Daniels had set the stage for a larger movement, one that would challenge systemic biases and demand accountability. But she also sensed that the road ahead would be fraught with obstacles and resistance. As she sat in her office, reviewing the day's events, her phone buzzed once more. It was a message from Lisa. "Maya, I just got a call from one of Daniels's colleagues. They have additional evidence against you. They're claiming you manipulated the situation to discredit him." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "This isn't over. We need to stay vigilant and continue gathering evidence. Our fight has just intensified." Determined not to let the newfound challenges deter her, Maya began to outline her next steps. She would lean on her network, seek further support from allies like James Caldwell, and continue to expose the corruption that had tainted her journey. As the night deepened, Maya knew that the climactic confrontation with Daniels was not just a personal battle, but a pivotal moment in her mission to drive meaningful change. The uncertainty of what lay ahead only strengthened her resolve, preparing her for the decisive actions she would need to take to overcome the systemic injustices she faced. With a final glance at the evidence laid out before her, Maya felt a surge of determination. The fight for justice was her calling, and she was ready to face whatever challenges came her way. The path ahead was uncertain, but Maya's strength and resilience would guide her through the storm, paving the way for a future defined by equity and respect. Maya sat in her home office, the weight of the past few days pressing heavily on her shoulders. The restraining order had been lifted, but the battle was far from over. The evidence Derek had uncovered about Officer Daniels' pattern of targeting black business owners had transformed her fight into a larger movement against systemic bias. Her father's support, Malcolm Collins, had provided a formidable ally, and the backing from Sky High Airlines' James Caldwell had bolstered her resolve. Yet, the latest message from Lisa about Daniels bringing in additional officers claiming further misconduct signaled that Daniels was escalating his tactics. Determined not to be intimidated, Maya began to outline her next steps. She needed to protect herself, her company, and the integrity of the fight against injustice. She reached out to Sarah Patel, her attorney, to arrange an urgent meeting. As the evening shadows lengthened outside her window, Maya felt a surge of determination. This was no longer just about clearing her name. It was about exposing a deeply entrenched system of corruption and prejudice. The following morning, Maya arrived at Horizon Technologies headquarters early, greeted by a team of dedicated employees ready to support her. Sarah Patel was already waiting in the conference room, alongside Derek Simmons and a few key members of the legal team. The room was filled with a sense of urgency and purpose. "We need to act swiftly," Sarah began, her voice firm. "Officer Daniels isn't stopping, he's escalating, and we have reason to believe he's colluding with higher-ups to undermine your reputation and our efforts." Derek leaned forward, his expression serious. "I've been tracking Daniels' connections within the airport security hierarchy. There are indications that he has allies who benefit from maintaining the status quo. We need to expose these connections to dismantle the support system that allows him to act with impunity." Maya nodded, her mind racing with strategies. "We need concrete evidence linking Daniels to these higher-ups. Can we tap into any communications or transactions that show his collusion?" Sarah tapped her tablet thoughtfully. "We have access to some internal emails and financial records through our IT team. It will take time, but we can compile a dossier that highlights his connections and the patterns of his misconduct." As they strategized, Malcolm Collins arrived, his presence commanding respect and authority. "Maya, we're behind you all the way. Let's ensure that justice prevails not just for you, but for everyone who has been marginalized by this system." Maya felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you, Dad. Your support means everything." The team worked tirelessly, poring over documents, analyzing data, and connecting the dots that would expose the depth of Daniels' corruption. Days turned into nights as they delved deeper, uncovering a web of deceit that implicated several high-ranking officials within the airport's security and administration. One evening, as Maya was reviewing the latest findings, her phone buzzed with a message from Derek. "Urgent meeting at the office now." Heart pounding, Maya rushed to the conference room, finding Derek and Sarah waiting with grave expressions. "What's going on?" she asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. Derek looked up, his eyes filled with concern. "We found something significant. Officer Daniels isn't working alone. There's evidence that he's been funneling funds to a private security firm that's been skimming money from various contracts." Sarah interjected. "This ties him directly to a larger scheme of corruption within the airport's administration. If we can link him to these financial irregularities, we have the leverage we need to dismantle his network." Maya felt a mix of frustration and determination. "We need to present this evidence publicly. It's time to bring everything to light." As they prepared their final dossier, Maya knew that the impending confrontation with Daniels was inevitable. The stakes were higher than ever. Her reputation, her company's integrity, and the broader fight against systemic bias were all on the line. The day of the climactic confrontation arrived swiftly. Maya, Malcolm, and their team had organized a public hearing within the airport's administrative offices, inviting media, advocacy groups, and key stakeholders to witness the unfolding truth. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with anticipation and the gravity of the moment. Maya stood at the podium, her presence commanding yet approachable. The room was filled with reporters, allies, and curious onlookers, all eager to hear the revelations. Officer Daniels was present, flanked by his own team of officers, his expression a mix of defiance and anxiety. Maya began, her voice clear and resolute. "Thank you all for being here today. I stand before you not only to defend myself against false accusations, but to expose a pervasive system of corruption and prejudice that has gone unchecked for far too long." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle in. "With the support of my team, Derek Simmons, and my father, Malcolm Collins, we have uncovered substantial evidence that Officer Daniels has been systematically targeting black business owners, using his position to further his own agenda and undermine those who have worked tirelessly to succeed in their fields. Maya clicked to the first slide of her presentation, displaying financial records that linked Daniels to the private security firm. Here, we have documented transactions that show Daniels diverting funds meant for airport security into a private account controlled by a firm with direct ties to higher-ranking officials. This is a clear case of embezzlement and corruption. Officer Daniels stood, his face flushed with anger. This is a smear campaign. These documents are fabricated to tarnish my reputation. I have done nothing wrong. Maya remained calm, her eyes locked on Daniels. Officer Daniels, your actions speak louder than any claims you might make. The evidence we've presented not only shows your personal misconduct, but also implicates others who have enabled your behavior. This isn't just about one individual. It's about a corrupt system that allows such injustices to persist. The room buzzed with tension as Maya continued to lay out the evidence, each piece meticulously connected to demonstrate the breadth of the corruption. As the presentation progressed, the facade of Daniels' authority began to crumble, his resistance growing weaker. Just as Maya was about to conclude, Daniels snapped, "You think you can just expose me and walk away? This is a betrayal of everything this airport stands for." Before Maya could respond, a sudden commotion erupted at the back of the room. A group of airport employees, emboldened by Maya's revelations, stepped forward, their voices united in support. "We stand with Maya," one of them declared. "Enough of this corruption." Officer Daniels, realizing he was losing control, attempted to regain his composure. "This isn't over, you'll regret this." Maya met his glare, her voice unwavering. "The only regret will be your continued participation in this corrupt system. Today is a turning point, and we will not back down." At that moment, Malcolm Collins approached the podium, his presence commanding respect. "Officer Daniels, your actions have not only harmed Maya Johnson, but have also damaged the integrity of this entire institution. We demand accountability and transparency. It's time to dismantle the corruption that has plagued this airport for far too long." Daniels' facade finally shattered, revealing the depths of his desperation and malice. "You think you can bring me down with your lies and manipulation? I have connections? Influence, you're nothing but a pawn in this game." Maya felt a surge of determination. "This isn't a game, Daniels. This is about justice and equality. Your connections won't protect you from the truth." As the confrontation reached its peak, Maya sensed that the tide was turning in her favor. The evidence was overwhelming, and the support from the crowd was undeniable. But just as victory seemed within reach, an unexpected twist unfolded. A high-ranking official from the airport administration, previously silent, stood up and addressed the room. "Officer Daniels, your actions are under investigation. Further details will be released in due time." The room erupted in murmurs as the official continued to outline the initial findings of the investigation, validating Maya's claims and condemning Daniels' misconduct. The revelation added a new layer of gravity to the situation, further exposing the systemic corruption Maya had been fighting against. Daniels, realizing the extent of his downfall, turned to Maya with a mixture of fear and anger. "This isn't the end, Maya. You've only scratched the surface." Maya stood tall, her resolve unshaken. "Maybe, but it's a start together. We can build a system that upholds justice and equality for everyone." As the meeting adjourned, the crowd's support solidified Maya's position. Reporters flocked to her, eager to cover the groundbreaking revelations. Derek, Sarah, and the rest of her team approached her, their faces reflecting pride and relief. Malcolm Collins placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Maya! You stood up against corruption and won." Maya felt a surge of emotion, her strength and determination having carried her through the intense confrontation. "This is just the beginning, Dad. There's still so much work to be done." As the room began to empty, Maya noticed Officer Daniels making his way towards her, his expression a mix of anger and desperation. He stopped a few feet away, his voice low and threatening. "You think this will change anything? The system is too entrenched. You'll never win." Maya met his gaze, her eyes filled with unwavering resolve. "Maybe the system is entrenched, But that doesn't mean it's unchangeable. Every step we take exposes the flaws and builds momentum for real, lasting change. Daniels clenched his fists, his composure breaking. You're just a pawn, Maya. A pawn who thinks she can topple giants with her ideals. Before Maya could respond, a surge of officers moved forward, but this time they hesitated. Influenced by the presence of the supportive crowd and Malcolm's authoritative stance, Daniels took a step back, realizing he had lost the battle. As he turned to leave, a voice rang out from the back of the room. Daniels, you need to leave now. The high-ranking official from earlier intervened, ensuring Daniels' exit was smooth and without further confrontation. Maya felt a mixture of relief and lingering tension as Daniels departed, his threats echoing in her mind. With the immediate confrontation over, Maya took a moment to breathe, her mind racing with the implications of what had just transpired. The fight against systemic corruption was far from over, but today had been a significant victory. The evidence had been exposed, the truth had been spoken, and the support from the community had made a tangible difference. As she walked out of the conference room, Maya knew that the road ahead would still be challenging. There would be legal battles to fight, reputational defenses to mount, and more systemic issues to address. But the climactic confrontation with Daniels had solidified her position as a formidable force for change, inspiring others to join her in the fight against injustice. Standing outside, the cool evening air felt like a balm. After the intense battle, Maya glanced around, seeing the faces of supporters and allies who had stood by her side. She felt a profound sense of unity and purpose, knowing that together they could continue to challenge and dismantle the corrupt systems that sought to undermine their efforts. However, as she prepared to leave, her phone buzzed with an urgent message from Lisa. Maya, the legal team found something else. It's big, you need to see this immediately. Maya's heart skipped a beat. What is it? She texted back quickly, already moving towards her car. As she drove back to her office, the city lights blurred past, her mind a whirlwind of anticipation and concern. The confrontation had been a major turning point, but now, an unexpected development threatened to reshape the entire landscape of her fight for justice. Pulling into her office parking lot, Maya took a deep breath before entering her building, determination fueling her every step. She knew that whatever lay ahead, she had the strength and support to face it head-on. The stakes were higher than ever, but Maya was ready to take decisive action to ensure that the battle against systemic corruption and prejudice would continue until true justice was achieved. As she stepped into her office, Lisa was already waiting, holding a folder with a concerned expression. Maya, you need to see this right now. It's about Daniel's connections to higher officials. We've uncovered evidence that suggests there's more to his corruption than we initially thought. Maya felt a surge of urgency. Show me. As Lisa handed over the folder, Maya began to sift through the documents, her eyes widening with each revelation. The evidence pointed to a network of officials who had been complicit in Daniel's schemes, their involvement indicating a deeper, more systemic corruption within the airport's administration. Maya looked up, her determination reignited. This changes everything. We're not just fighting one corrupt officer. We're up against an entire system that supports and protects these injustices. We need to take this to the highest levels and ensure that every link in this chain is exposed. As she laid out her plan, Maya knew that the next phase of her battle would require every ounce of her strength, intelligence, and resilience. The climax had arrived, and the path forward was fraught with uncertainty and danger. But Maya was ready to stand firm, her resolve unshaken by the challenges ahead. With a final glance at the damning evidence, Maya made her decision. We're going all in. This is about more than just my fight. It's about dismantling a corrupt system and paving the way for a more just and equitable future. As she and her team prepared for the next decisive action, Maya felt a profound sense of purpose. The confrontation with Daniels had been a pivotal moment, but the true battle was just beginning. With unwavering resolve and the support of her allies, Maya was poised to lead the charge against the entrenched corruption, determined to bring about meaningful and lasting change.